So do you ever feel like David versus Goliath in this industry? You probably do. I mean, most loan originators are producing for their own pipeline. Even if you work for a bigger company, you're still focused on your pipeline. And when there's companies out there like Wells Fargo or RE/MAX, giant real estate company, but they have their own mortgage company. So it feels like you're David versus Goliath. Well, I have a book report for you, as I often do. I just read David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell. As books go, I'd say this one's pretty good. Let me tell you a couple points from it, and then I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you bother taking the time to read it. Now, it does start out focused on this idea of the little guy versus the big guy. Goes into the story of David and Goliath. Did you know Goliath was a real person, a giant, literally medically a giant? Had a lot of heavy armor, giant sword, and along came David, who wasn't even a soldier. He was a shepherd who was delivering food to his cousin. But he knew he had an advantage, so he went up against the giant. The trick is he didn't get sucked into fighting the way Goliath wanted to fight. You know the story, he had the sling, whipped the stone at Goliath, knocked him out, and then he was able to go cut his head off. Tough day to be a giant. But the point is, when you feel like David up against bigger competitors, you need to back up and think about, well, what are my weaknesses? What are my disadvantages? Because the book makes a good point that very frequently buried in, tied up with your disadvantages are your advantages. It's not usually the case that everything is just all negative. Here, David was much smaller. Of course, he couldn't fight in a blow-to-blow, close quarters combat with Goliath. But he did have other skills, and his benefit was his speed and his other skills. Same thing is true. If whatever city or whatever state you're in, there are probably niche markets that you could focus on and become the expert in that niche. And whenever you become the expert at something, people see you as an expert and you get business outside of that niche. But if you're Wells Fargo, are you going to go after one of these little niches? No, it's not worth your time. So it's kind of like the analogy of a fisherman in a canoe or a little boat can go out and hit a little fishing hole and catch plenty of fish for themselves that you couldn't attack with a commercial fishing vessel. The book in the first third also goes into other ideas about how things that seem like weaknesses or disabilities can turn around and be strengths. Did you know that of the CEOs in the country, a disproportionate number have dyslexia? So somehow that coping with dyslexia as a child comes back and is a strength in life. So when you're out there thinking about what markets to go after, and some days it feels like you're David versus a Goliath in this industry, think about, sure, what are your disadvantages, but look at what advantages you have, or look at what niche markets you might target, or ways that you can connect with individuals because you're an individual that a corporation can never connect with, right? Give me your ideas. Let me know what's working for you. I'll share it, and let me know if you need any help. Speak to you soon.